Hi, my name is Derek Thomas. Maybe many of you know me, former owner of Sunpath Products, Javelin manufacturer, now of Elite Rigging Academy here in Zephyr Hills, Florida. I teach people to become riggers. What we're going to do today is show you an alternate packing method for ram air parachutes into today's modern containers. It's called, or commonly known as, the long ear, but I'm not sure that everybody really understands how that works or what that really means. And that's what I want to show you today. And we're going to start by when we pick up our lines right here. It's very important. How you pick it up and what you do from this point onwards, everything you do will make a difference to the end result. So we're just going to bring our parachute up. Okay, so now we're just basically going to find our nose like any parachute. But the things we don't want to do, our whole goal here is to have lines that run right up and down the middle. And we just have parachute that goes out and back to the next lines, out and back to the next lines, out and back to the next lines. So if we stand here and we start taking our nose here and we start going, we're just beating everything up. We just want to take our nose and lay it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Here's our nose. They run straight from our A lines forward. It's a triangle. We can take our slider and pull, but we take our nose and we're just going to put it between the legs. We're not going to put it between the legs till our knees are halfway to the D lines. We only want to hold the nose, which is from the A lines forward. So we're just going to put that between our legs. And then we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 A lines right here. We're going to put our hand inside, and we are not going to go and drag it out to the side, because that just makes parachute come around here that when we push it back ends up back in the middle. Remember, we just want our lines to, our parachute to go from this line to this line straight out. So as we go in here, you'll feel a bit of tension on your elbow. We're going to dolphin flick our parachute down here, and we're going to make our fold from our knee out, down. Now we have our first fold made. We're going to go into the next part of our stabilizer, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4 right in here, just like we did before. Put our hand in, straight down. We're not trying to pull it out. There's a little, with our hands around the lines, there's a little tension on our elbow here. We're going to dolphin flick again. Come out, go back in here, come around, and then we have fold number 2. So now we have 2 of our folds already made. 1 and 2. Now we go to the C and D lines, but we can't get in here with our hand. So what we're going to do now is we have our 2 folds. We're going to take our steering section out here. So again, following on our stabilizer, which is here, takes us to our tail. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to open this up. And what we're going to do is we're going to step in a little bit. We're going to find our D lines, which are all here. We have 1, 2, 3, and see, we have our steering section here. We have our last ones, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 3 for some reason. 4th is in here somewhere. There he is. So we have our 4, and then all we're going to do is encourage this piece of fabric to go the other way. We're not trying to drag it out. We're just going to encourage it. There's not much distance there, so there's not much of a fold to be made. But what we are going to do is we're going to take our C's here and our D's here, and we're going to put them all centralized and on top of the rest of our lines. We can go in here and separate our slider on this side, and you should be able to see me all the way through. You see how we want things to go from here to here, here to here. We don't want them to be dragged back into the middle. You should be able to see all the way through to me. Okay. Let's put our slider back in there. So that's this side pretty much done, except what we're going to do is I do not like my steering section and my main lines to be anywhere near each other. So this last piece of stabilizer that we pulled out here, we're going to push it inward so that our tail is on the outside here. And this is our one side done. Now we're just going to change our focus to the other side. And we do the same thing. And again, once again, we're going to pull our stabilizer to the inside. Now, our two stabilizers here on the inside, what we're going to do is just going to cross one in the other to create this barrier all the way down here. Now, everything's folded. We've got our A to B, we've got our B to C, and we went in the back and took our C to D. Crossed our stabilizers over to make a barrier between the steering section and everything else, and now we just plainly have our steering section out here. We take our tail all the way up. We're going to encompass it around our slider grommets, I'm sorry. Now all I'm going to do is I want you to see in here. Here is my nose between my knees, and we're going to take our tail up here. We're going to encompass everything except for our nose. See, I wrapped it around everything here, everything but a nose, and it goes in here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some more of the tail out here and wrap it in again. What that's going to do is going to bring all my tail section around in here. It's wrapping around all of the folds and going in and keeping our nose on the outside. What it's effectively done right now is taking our center line from being up here, it's coming somewhat around to our right side. So yeah, this is here. When we go to the other side and do the same thing, it's going to bring it back to center. So here we are again, A lines, B lines, C's to D lines, and we're just going to bring the tail around here. Now don't pull it around here and then try to wrap it here. Take it right from the top, right around your grommets, and feed it around your nose, right here, and push it down against that wall. You'll feel the wall. You've got it here. There's kind of a wall just here, it's kind of or a harder spot. That's where your tail is going to go down the side of your nose, and it's actually going to run right down your A lines, basically. Then we're going to take some more here, wrap it in some more. And what that's going to do is bring our center line, back to neutral, or to the up and down. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step out of here. The tail is now wrapped around the main body of the parachute all the way to the nose. So here's our nose, here's everything. I'm just going to pick it straight up in the air, and I'm going to guarantee that all this is in here. Here's the edge of my tail, it's going in there. I'm going to take the piece right here, and I'm pulling it on against my grommets and my hand up there, downwards and a little bit in, and that now encompasses my entire parachute that side. I'm going to walk around here and do the same thing. You see how when we first do it, it's going to get a little loose here. So I'm going in here now. I'm going to take some more out here, and I'm doing the opposite to the other side, right? I'm pulling against my grommets up there in my hand, and I'm making sure we've got this fabric of the tail all around the parachute except for the nose. Everything's here. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and the center cell lays right here down the middle, slider in here. So this is basically our parachute all packed up. Now we're going to lay it down on the floor, and to do that we need to get out from underneath it. So I'm going to change hands. I'm going to step out from underneath it. I'm going to pick it up with the other hand above, and then I'm going to move forward. What I want to do now from here is I want to lay this parachute down as gentle as I can, and what I need to do is I want to lay it down with the lines nice and tight. So the lines are going to go down first. So I'm going to lay this across my arm, and now I'm going to walk as far forward as I can. Okay? I don't want to lay here and try and chuck it this way. I want to go as far forward as possible. So when I lay down here, my lines are nice and tight, and I step out of the top of the parachute, and I take this center cell line right here, straight up the parachute. So now the main the tail is wrapped around all the parachute except for the nose. So do we need to go in there and start making reduction folds? No, we don't. Everything is already packed. We don't have to go do it again. So now we're just going to take our tail here and just kind of wrap it around a little bit, almost like a mane, just for 6 inches or so. At which point, even with my knee that's 12 weeks out of replacement, we're just going to kneel in here, and we're going to take the air up here, and we're going to start working on making. All we're going to do here now is we're going to take what we've wrapped around. Here's our nose coming out here. We'll have the 1, 2 and 3. But what we don't want to do is pull that out too much, because our idea here, here's our tail, and you don't have to make this too narrow. We're creating this triangle on top of our nose. And of course, because we were on the right side and we pulled our arm out like this, the nose over here is going to be pulling out a little bit more than the other side. But our goal is that our nose will spread out like this. We don't want our nose to spread out like this. Okay, we don't want to take our nose and drag it around here. We want to just spread the cells out. So obviously we want to keep it up through here. So now we're going to go in search of our nose on the other side, and we're going to have 1, 2 and 3. And the reason they're a little bit shorter or tugged in from the other is because we pulled our arm out through the other side. But again, now we're making sure that we're wrapping our tail around here, keeping everything under control. So we have one nice tail wrap around the whole parachute except for the nose coming up here. What I want to do now is I want my nose to be even, so I can pinch them right here together so they are, I know they're starting in the same place. And under the rest of the parachute, I can put my hands and I can just slide them up here, pulling the nose together, as I said before. See here and here? So what I've done is I've created my 2 halves of the parachute, and as I said, I've gone up and my nose spreads like this. I haven't taken it and drug it all around the corner. Now from here, once we got this symmetrical, nice style, and if we feel things are a little uneven, we can give it a little tug, clean them up, and we can even go in here and find our center cell if we have to, and make sure it's just in the center, because obviously when we drug our right ones out here, the center cell will have come with them a little bit, and so we just want to make sure the center cell is sitting right in the middle with these on either side. This here would be your first, when I'm teaching people, this is where we stop for, this is section 1. Section 2 is now about splitting the canopy so that we can make our nice long ears. So we're just going to go straight into that now. Again, we're just going to kneel here where we were. What we're going to do is we're going to take the center cell seam here and start pulling it towards ourselves a little bit until it shows us 2 clean halves of the parachute. As soon as we have our 2 clean halves of the parachute, we're just going to take them and pull them apart about 60 degrees. Right out about here, like a Y. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start rolling this center cell seam and cell down towards us. But as we do that, we're going to be dragging parachute in here from the sides, which we don't want. So as we're doing this, we're going to, as we feel it binding and coming in, this is nice and soft center cell, we're just going to use our fingers here to push them apart and roll some more. Push it apart and roll some more. Push it apart and roll some more. When we get down here, we're going to back up a little and we continue to do the same thing. We want to make sure that everything is going to the outside except what we want to be held right in the middle, all the way down to our data panel here, and possibly even further. Now at this point, what we want to do is create our ears, and if any of you have ever packed round parachutes, you'll understand this a little bit more about how we make a round parachute into a tube that we can infinitely move around inside our container. And that's what we're going to do here. We have been dragging parachute down this way, and our lines are now going out this way. So we really need to control these two edges here and here, so that when we start making our ear, this doesn't want to splay out this way, and that doesn't want to splay out that way. So we're just going to put a knee down in here. We're going to take a knee in here. And now we're going to take the nose and just drop it up underneath. And we're going to start the work of making our round parachute ears, if you like. And with this, you want to work more outside to in than inside to out. So I'm working this outside here towards the inside more than trying to work out the other way. Once we're comfortable, we're going to step off to the other side. So here we have this nice round type parachute that we can work here. We're parked right up here, so we're going to definitely step on this one in exactly the same spot. And we're going to kiss this up a little bit right here. Tucking this in and pushing it out. And now we can get into this nice angle here. Again, nose up underneath. Working the outside in. Now if it gets a bit bindy in here, this one's getting a little bindy here, it's rolled up a little much. All I'm doing is just loosening things up underneath so that we can get this outside edge to cover around as we want. We want to go outside to in rather than inside to out. Here we basically have our two sets of ears. And if we need to make any adjustments, this one's a little straighter and longer. I'm going to go back to my first one. I'm going to do what I did to the other one. I'm going to kneel right in here. I'm going to pinch this in a little bit right here. And we're going to work this a little bit more. And we should end up with something that is pretty much symmetrical. Just like this. Now what we do from here is we're going to just turn these into a U shape. Imagine this is going to fold up or under to create the middle of our bag. And these, depending on whether we're, what kind of rig we're packing, whether it's a Javelin, Vector, Mirage, Icon, Racer, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what we do have is we have the ability to have half our parachute down one side and half our parachute down the other side, and just here softly in the center. So I'm just going to fold it into a U shape now. If you have, here's where you'll have to learn whatever your rig you're putting it into. You have to understand that a Javelin or a Mirage may have a very thick triangular shape, and a Vector will be a much shallower, longer, flatter shape. So you can be triangulated quite heavily, or you can be triangulated but longer. So that will depend on how much ear you leave forward and how much you make for the back. And that is, to this point, it's the same for every rig. So, and then where we actually fold this back now, maybe whether we want a longer rig and shallow, or we need a shorter rig and deep. But the basic process that we go to now is that we're going to pick up our ear and line it up with our lines. Right here where we've come to, we're just going to put our fingers here, and don't pull this, don't pull like a main. You just want to lift it up, you want to turn it over, you want to put it down and leave it. Oh, my phone's just gone, I need to go off. Oh hell, I want a cup of coffee, I'm going off. This shouldn't move, this should stay right where you are. what you want to do is this first top skin coming around here is we're just going to manipulate that a little bit so it's around everything, kind of like a round parachute. And here we have our first nice clean fold. I'm going to kneel that with my downwind leg, if you like. And here now I'm going to tidy up my ear. Because now I've got this trapped, I can turn this in and make this very clean, nice flat shaped ear. And then I'm going to turn it back again right here. Where we turn it back, whether it's here or here, will totally depend on what container we're putting it into. But basically it's going to turn over and it's going to create ears up here that are going to go in our ear section. This is where your loop's going to be, and this will be behind the loop. Now we just change over the other side. We're going to kneel on here. We're going to pull this one back the same way. Just turn it over. We're going to get this outside skin here, and we're just going to make it come all the way around the rest of our parachute so it's nice and clean. Again, now I'm going to transfer, I'm going to kneel on the other side, but use my shin to hold the other one. And now we're just into the same boat we were at before. We have our ear now, that if we pull it up here, it almost tells you exactly where it wants to go. Now we want symmetry, so we're going to pull this one and turn it back exactly the same as this one. So we're going to go here, but if I put my fingers directly in line with this one, there's a thickness to this bend here. So we're going to go back about 1 inch, and we're going to turn it over here. Again, just turn it over, no pulling, no pushing. And you can see now that this should be nice and even. If we come up here, this should be nice and even. If I lift these up, these should be nice and even too. And that is basically the pack job of the long-eared method. Again, what happens now, depending on what you're putting in it to, you can clearly see that I can easily move this if I need more ear, less ear, very, very easily. You only have to move this one, or if it was really bad, you might need to push this one more forward or whatever. But generally speaking, you'll only need to move this fold here forwards or backwards, depending on whether it's a short stubby rig or a long flatter rig. But that is basically the whole thing. Thank you very much.